Hello everyone and welcome to another online lecture. Today we're going to be talking about presenting with numbers. I know this gets you excited, gets me excited, so let's just dive right into it, okay? So, presenting numbers. I want to cover why presenting with numbers matters, how to avoid the num part of numbers, and ways in order to present the numbers. So, why does presenting numbers matter? It's all about the audience. If you don't connect with the audience, your lecture or presentation will be meaningless. By having that audience be able to understand and comprehend those numbers, you'll be much more effective speaker. Also, as an engineer, you'll be presenting numbers all of the time. This could be to explain your calculations or your formulas. Could be for managing a budget, which you'll probably do at some point in the future. And it could be for project proposals, which include time, cost, resources, and benefits. So this is part of the reason I want to go over why numbers matter. Of course, the challenge is avoiding the num in numbers. I have several lists here that I got actually from all places, American Express, Trends, and Insights. They gave a good summary on recommendations for using numbers in presentations, so here we go. The first one is give the context for the numbers. Specifically, what's the importance of them? What insight do you have of the numbers? And what are the trends? You just don't put the numbers out there. You start to interpret them for your audience. Next is replace some numbers with words. For example, instead of saying 66%, say 2 out of 3. Or instead of saying 12%, out of 100 cases, 12 show defects. This will be much more memorable for the audience. Number 3 is round the numbers in your presentation. Especially since it's much harder to memorize and digest large complex numbers. For example, taking the number of 164,589 and rounding it to 165,000 would be much more digestible for your audience. And then how you get around not presenting the actual numbers is to give the actual numbers in a handout or another reference to the audience later. Moving on to number 4, display numbers graphically. This can include pie, bar, and line charts that we talked in the lecture on Monday about. Next is be judicious in the use of tables, charts, and even spreadsheets. Limit them to only one per slide. Now, as I mentioned, it's okay if you were saying have 2 pie charts where one chart explains a piece of the pie. So in that case, you have 2 relatable. That are related subjects explaining each other, but try to limit it to one idea and one table, chart, or spreadsheet in each slide. Next is help your audience visualize the numbers. Relate the numbers to something they're familiar with. For example, if you're talking about the U.S. interstate highway system, that is 46,876 miles. Not a very easy to remember number. But if you round it and say 47,000 miles, that's much easier for your audience to remember. Or a very easy way is say that's 2 times around the earth, where the audience is able to visualize the road going all the way around the earth and then going around a second time. And what actually happens if they know either the circumference of the earth, or they could always look it up and figure out that, hey, it's about 47,000 miles. But you leave that visual of the highway system going around the earth twice, and the audience will easily remember that. And then finally, tell a story to help bring the numbers alive. For example, I put one here that I made up with, where a new parking airport garage will have the capacity of 5,000 cars. That means the garage will have the capacity to handle 5,000 couples arguing at the same time over why they pack so much luggage. It's a visual that will remain in the mind of those in your audience because they can relate to both arguing over packed luggage, and then they can relate to the 5,000 couples in the parking garage that all occurring. So again, when talking about avoiding the num in numbers, again, it's all about your audience. You want to know your audience to determine how you'll present those numbers. Then think about your audience and ask, what is the message I am trying to convey? Again, that one message that you want them to walk away with your overall presentation. And then finally, think about the level of your audience and go one level below. As you mentioned, if you think your audience is a graduate level, university students, go to the undergrad senior level as far as your presentation of numbers or even overall presentation of words and acronyms. So let's talk about ways to present numbers. You have basic in-your-face number presentations, summary tables. I'm going to review graphs and charts. I'm going to also review infographics, and then finally talk about data visualization. So in-your-face numbers, this is where you just present the numbers as is with no or very little interpretation. I don't want to see this in any of our presentations. Let me put it this way. Off to the right, you can see a horrible spreadsheet which lists all the numbers. Your eyes don't know where to go. It's confusing and there's no message in it. This is only for the experts who are extremely familiar with the numbers. For example, if you're in a budget meeting with your boss, going over costs or performance of something, where your boss or fellow engineer knows exactly how the numbers are formatted and where to look. That's the only case. But as I mentioned, never use these in a presentation unless you're specifically presenting the raw data. Next is summary tables. These are a little bit better. They summarize numbers into easy to read and understandable format. This is where audiences that need to give an overview, for example, it might be executives in the company, or it might even be those outside the organization, such as reporter. Essentially, this is a simple to digest format for numbers. You can see on the right here, I've taken the previous spreadsheet and summarized it into an easy to interpret table. Not easy to remember, but still an easy to interpret table. And then we have graphs and charts, which is only graph or use or chart a simple expression or variable. This is review from Monday. Bar, line, and pie charts are most preferable. Stay away from other complex charts unless the audience is familiar with them. And don't use secondary axes on bar charts in presentations, as it tends to confuse the audience depending on the direction. And what I've done to the right here is I've taken that summary table and created a pie chart on sources of funding to build the apartment building of 18 million. And that's how you could see, you can get a visualization of where most of the sources of money will be coming for this apartment building. And then in about a month ago, we talked about infographics. Again, they're very hard to put together. That's the tough part, but they're quick and easy way to communicate your message to the audience. Very appealing to the audience, easy to look at and remember the numbers, and includes a combination of pictures with the numbers to create simple illustrations, and also combines a story with the numbers to make it memorable. And finally, we have the new trend in the last 10 years, which is data visualization. It's a general term that covers so many different ways of presenting, but essentially it takes a number and makes it relatable. By combining numbers and pictures, allows trends and patterns to be more easily seen. Your audience will actually determine the level of detail you provide here. It could be high level, or you can actually dive down. And in fact, a lot of the data visualization tools that are out there will let you to do that on the fly. For example, here I pulled up the current case map for coronavirus. And this app, this website actually allows you to view all the way out to the worldwide global level, and then you can actually zoom in to see the US, and then even zoom in to see the individual areas in Wisconsin. This is a case of active data visualization. I don't suggest actually putting an active website in your presentation, but at some point you probably will. But this is becoming much more popular, and you'll see this more and more in presentations. So in summary, it all comes back to that golden rule we've had this whole class, which is it's all about the audience. You have to make the numbers relatable to the audience, otherwise the reason for your presentation will be void. The challenge is different audiences will have different ways to present those numbers. So you have to be understanding what they're looking for and what will they do with those numbers. But the most important thing is no matter who it is, make it simple for them to understand. So, alrighty, talk to you later, y'all. Take care.